If there was a universal language that was recognized and spoken by all humans on this planet, what do you think that language would look like? Some of you might say English or body language or something like that. But many linguistic experts actually believe that emojis are the language of the future. And honestly, I don't know if I really subscribe to that. But the concept itself of a universal language is so intriguing. It is something that could literally tether every human on the earth together. But instead, we're here in 2025 playing Clash Royale using the universal language of emotes to BM our opponents. Because if there is one thing that Clash Royale players across the globe understand, it is BM. And if you're watching the video and you're like, I don't know what BM is, I don't understand what that means, that's totally fine. I recently made a video on the toxic culture of Clash Royale. You can give that video a watch as a predecessor to this one. But in honor of the toxic gaming culture that has surrounded Clash Royale since 2016 when the game first released, we are going to be ranking the top 10 most toxic emotes inside of Clash Royale. And while this topic is innately subjective in nature, I have a feeling a lot of you are going to agree with my rankings. And maybe you can use it as a reality check to determine if you're a toxic Clash Royale player or not. Starting off the list strong with our honorable mention, just missed the top 10, is the aggressive hammer emote. Just seeing the animation of the hammer beating down and bending the crown is just infuriating. Combined with the fact that the only time your opponent usually uses that emote is when they're already destroying you makes it 10 times worse. But honestly, everything else on the list is even more enraging than this emote, so with that, let's get into our top 10 most toxic emotes. Starting off in the number 10 spot, we are going to go with the eye roll Goblin emote. And while there are a lot of Goblin emotes that are incredibly toxic and more toxic than this one is just so condescending. There's quite literally no way that you could use this emote and have it not be BM. It is instant disrespect to your opponent, and in a way, it is putting yourself above them. Rolling the eyes to signal that you are above them, you are superior, and they are completely beneath you. And the subtle, condescending sigh is just the cherry on top. Number 9 on my list, and this might be a little low for people, is the chicken emote. We've all seen it, it's everywhere. You can actually get the emote for free. The chicken emote is one of the most annoying emotes inside of Clash Royale. And while the emote is annoying, I think there are a lot more toxic things that you could say about your opponent besides just calling them a chicken. But I think I would be doing a disservice to this list if it wasn't somewhere on the top 10, so for me, the chicken emote falls into the 9th spot. Cranking up the toxicity meter just a little bit, at the 8th spot, we are going to have the Goblin tongue out emote. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll do my best impression here. He just kind of goes... But yeah, similar to number 10, I feel like I don't need to explain this, but just incredibly condescending and very disrespectful to your opponent. Basically the emote equivalent of just saying whatever or screw you or like, I don't care about you. So while this is completely disrespectful and borderline toxic, it fits perfectly at the 8th spot. Coming in at the 7th spot, I'm sure a lot of people were wondering if this was going to be on the list. We're going to have the Hog Rider question emote / the Hog Rider scream emote. I'm grouping these together because I feel like these two emotes don't deserve their own unique spot on the list. But oh my gosh, do these emotes piss me off. The Hog Scream one is so annoying and so loud and so overused, and you can use it to be sarcastic whenever you're destroying your opponent. And the Hog Rider question emote is one of the most disrespectful emotes that you can use. Whenever your opponent makes a mistake or you're just wailing on them and you hit them with the very few emotes in the game are so explicitly disrespectful. You know exactly what your opponent means when they are sending this emote. Number 6 on my list, and I think this might be a little low for some people, is the CRL number 1 emote. This emote is pretty underrated, and I know a lot of people don't really understand what the emote means, so I'm going to break down the 2 possible interpretations. Interpretation number 1 of CRL is that they are sarcastically cheering for you. They're saying, oh wow, you're so good, yay, like you're incredible. Just a sarcastic way of saying, yeah, you actually suck. Hence the foam finger sarcastically cheering for them. The second interpretation of this card is that it is the only emoji that is a finger, a single finger. So there were many people in the comment section of the last video I made that were very quick to remind me that a lot of people see this emote as a middle finger. But that's a little bit of a stretch, but either way, it's outright disrespectful. It's never meant as a good thing, and it falls perfectly in my 6th spot. And now we have officially reached the top 5. At the 5 spot, we're going with the OG ha and the pixelated ha, which is just the king laughing emote. I can't think of too many things that are more disrespectful or just enraging than outright laughing at your opponent. It's also one of, if not the most iconic emotes inside of Clash Royale. And there is something so simple about this emote, the way you use it to just laugh at your opponent, to let them know, I'm not intimidated by you, I don't care about you, I'm not even thinking about you. And while I think there could be an argument that this fits into the one spot, I think when you see the other 4 emotes, you'll understand why this landed at number 5. Number 4 on this list is the one that is by far the most controversial, and I might need to defend. It is the Rainbow Prince emote. You might look at this emote and you might be like, I don't see why this is toxic. It's just a prince with the rainbow behind him. But if you've ever lost a game and someone is spamming the Rainbow Prince emote, I need you to think about what it could actually mean. Because most of the time, if they are spamming this emote, it is most likely a reference to a form of hate speech. And if you're wondering what I'm referring to or what the people are referring to, they are basically calling you a bundle of something, like a bundle of sticks. And I can't explicitly say that word, but you get the gist. Which is why, despite its bubbly appearance, this is actually a really toxic emote, and I'm going to slide it into my 4 spot. And now we're looking at the top 3. Coming in at number 3, we're going to have all of the most toxic crying emotes. So the crying goblin, the skeleton crying emote, and the little prince crying emote. I think you could make a case for these to be anywhere on 1 through 3, but my god, they are just the most enraging emotes in the entire game. Strictly off of the sound bites alone, whoever voiced these emotes deserves a raise. Or the skeleton crying, or the little prince crying. These are undoubtedly one of the most rage-invoking emotes on the entire list. So like I said, you could definitely argue that these fall into the 1 spot, but for me personally, they slide in perfectly at the bronze medal, number 3. Just a small level above in terms of toxicity for me is the Yawning Princess or the Yawning Pig emote. And I think the reason that this is just a tier above the crying emotes is because this can never be used in a not disrespectful way. But 100% of the time when you are using the Princess Yawn emote, it is toxic. I can't even defend you. If you're using the Yawning Princess emote, you are BMing, you are toxic, and there is no other interpretation of this emote that I can think of. So because it is so unambiguous and so toxic, so rude, so condescending, this is an easy 2 spot for me. So what's number 1? The most toxic emote inside of Clash Royale. Hands down. You know him, you love him. The Goblin laughing emote. I know what you're thinking. At the 5 spot, I had the other laughing emotes, but this one is just in a tier of its own. This emote has sort of taken on a new life in the subculture of Clash Royale. Because while the Goblin laughing doesn't explicitly mean anything, the community has kind of adopted it and deemed it the most toxic emote. It is basically the equivalent of saying F you to your opponent. And this is how it's been since the game was first released in March of 2016, because this was one of the emotes that was in the base set. And by far, it was the most toxic emote in the base set. So as time has gone on, we've gotten different and new emotes, but the Goblin Laugh emote has remained the pinnacle of toxic communications inside of Clash Royale. So yeah, it is definitely not an emote you want to be throwing out unless you want your opponent to hate you. And I feel very confident putting this emote in my number 1 most toxic emote inside of Clash Royale. So those are my final rankings. Here's the list one more time so you can take a look and agree or disagree with me. I'm very much looking forward to seeing all of your feedback in the comment section. And please let me know if there are any emotes that I missed that are perfect for BMing your opponents. Not that I'm encouraging that or anything. But anyways, thank you one last time for watching. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the support, and I really hope to see you in another video real soon. Peace.